Hi, Matthew Burchett, and I'm pretty sure you know the guy to my left, Cal Cam. If you haven't seen the two videos we did with Cal before, Cal was a Huey pilot in Vietnam, so he took us on a walk around of our Huey. It was really cool. And then it was so cool that we had tons of questions. So we did a Q&A with Cal. I really geeked out over that one. And now we're going to talk about some of his photos in his own collection that he donated to the Museum of Flight. So let's get at it. Well, let's just start. That's Dad.
Okay, and the reason why I like to start with my dad is if it wasn't for him being in the military, I would never have had the desire to fly.
Really?
He got his commission in 1940. He got it through ROTC, graduated ROTC, and he got his commission in 1940. He didn't talk much about the war. I got most of my information from my mom.
No kidding.
And found out that he was on the third wave into Iwo Jima that day. There's only one story he ever told me about that war, and that is during Banzai attacks.
Ooh.
And he was told that his commanding officer told him that he was not to leave his pup tent if the attack came at night for fear of his own people shooting him. Because he's Chinese, and they didn't know the difference between Chinese and Japanese. And so his commanding officer told him that he had to shoot from his tent. He could not go out of his tent at night if they attacked. So that was kind of it. But that's the only story he ever told me. And then after that, he was stationed at Johnston Island during the Korean War, which is a refueling stop. And that's where my story starts, is because I was about 6 years old because I started kindergarten on that island. And I would the island's only a mile long and a half a mile wide. Okay?
Wow.
So planes are everywhere. And so I'd sit there in the little playground and I watch planes taking off and landing. And I says, I'm going to be a pilot. And so that's where my desire to learn how to fly was.
You have now decided that you are going to fly.
Correct. So my dad got his commission in 1940. 29 years later, I got my commission the same way. I got it through ROTC.
Okay.
And I was in the ROTC program. I was in the flight program. So I was flying before I was commissioned. And once I was commissioned, all of us in those days had to have a branch. So I went to artillery school first and then went to flight school. And we all went to Fort Walters, Texas. And we went to these things called stage fields. And this is a stage field right here. And in the stage field, they would take all the pilots in the class or in the group. They divide us up by weight, and depending upon how heavy you were, I can't remember the weight, but if you are a certain weight, you flew the TH-55, which is a Hughes.
Yeah.
And if you were above that weight, you flew the Hillard.
Oh, okay.
So these are the light guys. I flew the TH-55. We called it the Mattel, because literally the transmission between the engine and the main rotor blade is not geared. Okay, you've got, and I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was 6. It's 6 automobile fan belts.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that.
Yeah.
It's crazy looking.
And I think the story is like the rotor blades will run with 3 or 2 of them. So you've got, some safety margin there if one of them breaks. So once you solo, a tradition that we had was that we would throw the person who soloed into the swimming pool at the Holiday Inn, and the Holiday Inn was great. They honored us pilots that were there. In fact, they even put cross rotor blades right here with this little sign. It says here, Solo Alley. Under these rotor blades pass the finest helicopter students in the world. And this last picture is just my wife and myself after the first solo. That's why I look wet in there.
That's great.
Yeah. And when we graduated, you asked me how many we had in our flight. This is what is left over of our flight. Now, this looked like a lot of people, right? Now, you remember that the war went from 65 to 71.
Mm-hmm.
Every 2 weeks, this number of pilots graduated from flight school. They ran a graduation class twice a month. We were separated by 2 weeks and they started another one.
Wow.
So a lot of pilots.
That is a lot of pilots.
A lot of people ask me, what was it like being a helicopter pilot in Vietnam? So I took this picture not to tell this story. I didn't know I was going to be in the museum doing this, all right? But this picture tells what it's like to be a helicopter pilot. Because if you look at the windshield, in our unit, we had to record the time that we picked up our first, what we called them packs.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the P stands for pack. So at 6 o'clock in the morning, we picked up 7 troops right here.
Okay.
And these are sorties. So sorties in the helicopter language means every time the skid touches the ground. So not every time we touch the ground do we have troops on board.
Right.
Because we have to refuel. Sometimes the mission is called off and what have you. To be here at 6 o'clock in the morning, if you want to eat breakfast, brush your teeth, go out and pre-flight the aircraft, you have to get up about 4 o'clock in the morning, 2 hours before because you're going to pick up the troops roughly, 6 o'clock is a late pickup. Usually we pick them up about 5:30.
Wow.
So then every time we picked up troops, we had to mark the time. And this right now, it's in a little past noon, so it says 13:20. So it's 1:20 in the afternoon. And at this time, we have flown 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 assaults. And just our aircraft alone have moved 46 troops. We always flew in flights of 4, so you multiply that number 46 by 4, and that tells you how many troops our platoon moved that morning or that day. We normally stop flying about 6 o'clock, as we'll go back out, and very seldom did we leave troops out in the field. Most of the times we brought them back. We only had 1 aircraft that per platoon that flew what we called DCS mission, direct support missions. And that ship would supply those people that we put out in the field or some other unit out there. We'd be hauling supplies out to them. Okay.
So we've actually got the negative. We printed this off just because it's nice and big, but there you are. Yeah, it even says Vietnam on it. That's really cool.
And as you notice, a lot of these slides, I wrote on there what happened that day because I knew that I would forget. So these writings that are on there were done when I was in Vietnam.
Yeah, you vets watching, please do that. It's so helpful to us. You know, I know you're thinking about us, but it's so helpful for all the researchers to know exactly what they're looking at. Okay, we'll put him over here. All right, who's this amazing guy?
Okay, the reason why I selected this picture to talk about is of all the pictures that are on that I donated, I get more comments on this picture than anything else. And I don't know why, but I do. And so one of the questions I always answer for them is, where did I get this net right here? It's a little hammock. And by the way, this picture was taken inside the cabin of the Huey. But the story that really kind of goes along with this picture is, where did I get this? I bought this in country, all right, when I was there. I did not bring it. It was not sold in the PX. I'll show you where it was sold, which is that next picture right there.
Uh-oh.
So every once in a while, not all the time, every once in a while when we would pull back after we inserted our troops, we'd pull back and we'd sit outside a friendly village, or we'd sit outside another fire base and wait for us to be called up again. And I would say not all the time, but some of the times local and they were usually females, would come out with these baskets of things to sell us. And this is where I bought that hammock. It was made by somebody, there, and I bought it from them out of this basket right here.
And I'm noticing the ubiquitous M18 smoke grenades.
Right. So what you do with the smoke grenades is that you use it for markings. If you want to mark something, you would throw it out. You wouldn't throw it out. You'd tell the crew chief to throw it out or the door gunner to throw it out. But it was also used more by the command and control ship. Every platoon had one ship above it with the commander of the unit that you were working with. And anytime you did an assault, they would drop one of these smoke grenades into the LZ they wanted you to land in.
Okay, home sweet home.
Okay. So this is a fire base. This is Bearcat Fire Base. It's where our unit was stationed. Now, most people who watch Rambo and those movies there,
Yeah.
they envision fire bases as being small, and that they are called fire bases. They may only have a platoon there or a battery of artillery there or what have you. When I show a lot of people this picture, they say, this is a fire base? This is awful big. Yeah, but it's still called a fire base. There were about, I think, 4 helicopter companies there. One helicopter company was the Australians, and one was a Thai, and about 3 or 2 more American helicopter companies there, along with about 7 infantry companies. And those 7 infantry companies are those that we supported. So in the morning, you pick up your helicopter, you just do a high hover, you come over here, and your troops are always lined up right here.
Okay.
And we'd load our troops up, and that's where I put that little mark, 6 o'clock in the morning. And then we would take them out into the jungle out here. Now this fire base was on the southeast corner of the Iron Triangle.
Okay,
So
heard of that.
Yeah, in 3 Corps. So our flights, when we took them out here, only lasted maybe 5-10 minutes, because our area of operation was to secure a perimeter, secure about, I'm estimating this, all right, about 20 miles around our fire base.
Okay.
And there were fire bases just like ours all over the place, and their area was to secure that area around theirs. So hopefully you've got most of the Iron Triangle covered.
And so the idea is that these areas of operation would interlock,
right?
Kind of. They'd overlap, and
Overlap,
so you basically,
I mean,
in theory, would take over the entire area.
Yeah, you could secure the entire area, which is impossible to do. So, like, we would just put them out here, and based upon the information from the intelligence where they thought the enemy would be, they would thrash around out there. And then if they don't find anybody, they'd call it. Like, remember I said we'd be sitting somewhere? We're just waiting for them to call us, and they said nobody here. So then we'd pick them up, and then we'd take them to another spot out here, and they'd thrash around. And once in a while, if they did come in contact with somebody, then we would pull the rest of the people around into there.
Okay. So now you're dropping off your troops.
Right. This is the final phase of a combat assault. Now, wait a minute. I got to talk to the pilots out there. I know you're not supposed to be taking pictures when you're flying, but I only did it one time, and where I wanted to get a picture of a combat assault. This is the final part of the assault right here. This is the smoke that is thrown out by the command and controls, the CNC ship. And what they would do is the command and control was to land short of the smoke, land long, because you might miss where you want to go. So they would say land long on the smoke, land short, right of the smoke, left of the smoke, or right on the smoke. So that tells you where the ground commander wants you to put their troops down. So if the area is hot, we're allowed to shoot. We're allowed to open up with our machine guns. Sometimes we can only open up on one side because we have friendlies on the other side. Sometimes if we don't know where anybody is, it's a brand new area, we are allowed to open up on both sides. And our gunships are protecting us as we're going in and as we're coming out.
Well, I'm glad you took that picture.
Yeah.
Because that is, I mean, that's the real deal right there.
Yep. It's very quick. I mean, from the time that you're on short final, when you're allowed to open up with your guns, if it's one that you can land all 4 ships down at a time, to the time you lift on, I bet it's not more than 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
Wow.
I bet it's under 5 minutes because it happens real fast. And that's why we always describe being a helicopter pilot as just hours and hours of boredom flying, and with just minutes of stark terror when you go into hot LZ.
Yeah. I'm sure this was only done.
I'm glad you chose that picture.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to explain this picture.
Oh, yes,
right?
please.
Okay. The night before this mission was flown, we were told that we had a special mission, that we're going to pick up some people in Saigon, which is Ho Chi Minh City now, and we were to take our grungiest helicopter, and we were to fly to this location in Saigon, and we're going to pick up our packs there. So we're thinking, oh, this is going to be one of those missions where we're going to have to fly into Cambodia or someplace we're not supposed to, and they don't want the helicopter, a nondescript helicopter going into there. So we go into Saigon, we land, and the people who got on our helicopter were almost dressed like me. They had suits on, they were dressed in ties, and they were Vietnamese. We take them, put them in the helicopter, and we fly them out, and we're close to the Cambodian border, but we're not there yet. We land in this real small fire base, and when we get down there, they're greeted, and it's a celebration, it's a party. And they invited us to have lunch there. And this is the first time I ate real Vietnamese food. And at every table, there was a bottle of Johnny Walker Red there. But I'll put my hand on the Bible and I'll swear by this, we did not drink out of that bottle. It turned out what we thought was going to be a disaster of a mission, it really turned out to be a fun mission. I enjoyed the flying. I did not enjoy the, I guess you could call it stress of the unknowing. Because every day you go up, you don't know if you're coming back.
Yeah.
And it kind of wears on you after a while. People ask me, aren't you scared? Yeah, you are afraid. You are scared when you fly. But there's something interesting about when you're afraid, is that when you're flying, the minute you, at least for me, the minute you crank that engine up, you are so concentrated on flying that the fear kind of goes away. But where the fear comes in is when after you land and while you're sitting with your buddies drinking beer, you're thinking, I got to do this tomorrow. But once you're flying, at least I didn't experience having fear, unless there was a lot of explosions going on around.
Cal, thank you so much. And I'm gonna go ahead and call this a series because we've done it 3 times now. But what makes it so amazing is the fact that you felt comfortable enough to donate your photos to the Museum of Flight. Is there anything you would like to say to other veterans out there that might waylay their fears about donating to museums?
Now, that's a good question, because I know that the veterans out there, you're treasuring your pictures. I mean,
Yeah.
it is really hard to part, and it was really hard for me to part with these pictures.
Mm.
And the only way we can preserve the history of the Vietnam War is by donating them to museums, because now it becomes a living part of history.
Yeah.
And it's not somebody else's pictures that are just out of magazines. And besides that, I'm running out of stories to tell. We need more pictures in the museum. But yeah, I know that it is hard to part with these pictures. But let me tell you, they put these pictures into the digital collection.
That's right.
And it's there for life now. It's electronically stored. So I look at them once in a while.
Do you really? Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I'd look at them just to see which new ones have been cleaned up. So yeah, they've done a good job.
And speaking of looking at them, y'all can too. Just go to our website and just search for Cal Cam. We are constantly scanning more of his stuff. Thank you, Cal. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you.
See ya. What kind of camera did you have?
I bought a real inexpensive Yashica. It was an amazing little camera.